What is up, Joe Joe in the morning army? That's right, I usually call you a family, but today I'm going to call you an army because we are going to all move forward in the kingdom of God together. Today I want to talk to you about something that you don't hear people talk about a lot of time. And let's just get into it. I want to talk to you about the wonderful gift of pain. That's right, I said pain. Most people mismanage pain, and that is why they get stuck, or that's why they are where they are. Okay? A lot of times in life, when people are hurt, they're wounded, in the church world, they go to the fivefold gift of the pastor. A lot of pastors come in and they start to minister to them. Problem is, if the pastor is wounded, most pastors are, they're hurt, they will feed into that pain, and it will just kind of not be a good thing. I've seen it so many times. A lot of times people have pain from the past. I'm talking 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they try to put their pain out as a woe is me. They mismanage their pain. I remember I was talking to this lady one time, and she was telling me about all these people doing her wrong. They hurt her, they wounded her, they spoke against her. And I asked her, I said, "Whoa, I'm okay. I'm here to help. My wife and I are here to help you." And we started talking to her, and I noticed her story kind of got weird. This lady was in her 60s. She's talking about how people hurt her as a teenager. And she didn't live anywhere near where this happened. But there was that pain that she had just always kept up, and that was her story, her pain of what happened. And she didn't use it as a strength. I could tell you so many stories of two people. One used their pain to stay in victimhood, a professional victim, and how one used it to triumph. Same story, same situation. I've heard stories about two people growing up extremely poor. One staying poor, one thriving. I've seen people who got a divorce. One was a victim forever, the other one rose. I've seen people in ministry being removed from their church, and they didn't do anything wrong. I've seen one be, "Oh my gosh, they hurt me." I've seen one use it to build. I've seen people who claim they have church hurt, and that's their, if people come to our church and they say, "Oh, my last pastor did me so wrong," I'm like, whoop, mm-mm. We don't talk about other pastors. We're gonna get you past what you're in, and we're gonna grow. What happens a lot of time is people use pain. One of my sayings I say when I see somebody or meet somebody and they have kind of a behavior it's just not right, and I don't know the person. I've said this so many times. "Oh, I know their mama. Oh, I know their dad." Because what is not fixed in one generation will carry over to the next one. Saw this guy, young guy recently. Dude was sharp, loves God, power of God, entrepreneur, on point, sharp. Just hit when he showed up. He was dressed tight. I mean, he was like sharp in everything he did. Somebody said, "Man, that young man is sharp." I said, "Oh yeah, I know his dad. His dad's like that. His dad's quick thinker, entrepreneur, kingdom minded. When he shows up, he may be wearing a t-shirt, it's going to be ironed. He just shows up appropriate. He shows up ready and on point." And so a lot of times how we deal with pain. I remember one day I was sitting in a room full of generals. We were having a dinner at a conference. I was the youngest one in the room. There was 8 people on this table, and I was not speaking, and I was listening to them. And I saw no victimhood. And then one of them said, "Hey, Joe, what have you had to work through recently?" And I told him. And one guy laughed. He said, "Yeah, I went through something like that 20 years ago." And I thought, "Really?" I said, "The way that you act, everything is great in your life." He said, "Oh, no, I just worked through it." He said, "But I didn't go through what this guy went through." And he said, "Tell him what you went through." And the guy just kind of laughed. And he didn't tell it out of "Oh, I'm wounded. I'm just, oh my goodness, woe is me." He just said, "Oh yeah, this, and this happened." I went, "Oh my gosh, that happens in ministry?" And he said, "Oh yeah, but I got with the Lord and got my mind right. I just blessed him and moved on." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, these dudes are going through some crazy stuff, and you can't even tell it." I remember one time, one of the sharpest families I've ever been around. They were new at this church I was working at, and man, I just thought they were born into privilege. And they started talking. He started talking a little bit about his childhood. I was like, "What? You went through that, and now you're where you are?" And she talked about this horrific childhood she went through. It was unbelievable what she had to go through. And where she is now, love God, church leader, thriving in business. They use pain. See, when you're wounded, if you allow your wound to always never scab over and be healed physically, like I got my wrist caught in a feed bin when I was young. It's got the big metal doors you push up, and when it was about out, you would stick a bucket, or like you would get like a shovel and stick in and pull the feed out. Well, I was sticking my hand up. One of my city friends, he went to hit the side of the feed bin, boom, 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 and that latch came down, cut my arm all the way down, partially went into the bone, and we picked it up out, and it was, I was country, so my dad put a little, alcohol and peroxide on it. I didn't go to the doctor. My hand's cut all the way like this, and my dad said, "Don't pick at it, boy. It'll scab over quick." You can't tell. You can't even look right there and see a scar on that. Ain't no scars on that. And, when you pick at a scab, when you're hurt and you've been wounded in life by a situation, a circumstance, you were released from a ministry position, you were released from a job, you were overlooked, you were divorced, you were molested. You need to find a strong person you can trust. Tell them. Now, I remember one time I had a friend of mine, he counseled a couple for a year and a half every week. The guy separate, the girl separate, them together. And after about 2 months, I said, "Bro, this ain't good. They're not getting stronger. This is scary." And that ain't how you do it. You got to give people the option to get better. You're not doing that. And if that makes sense. And so when people have pain in life, I like when a spiritual son stabbed me in the back. It happens. Whenever a mentor hurts you, I will walk outside, give me a cup of coffee, eat me an apple. I love apples, by the way. I'll go outside and take me a walk, clear my mind, do Philippians 4:8, think upon the things that are good, that are noble, that are just, that are praiseworthy. Meditate on these things. And it hurts, but I take every thought captive, and then I figure out how I'm going to navigate out from there, compartmentalize what happened. This is why I'm excited about the mentoring, because I'm going to dive in with people and help them through this. Do my thinking process, reevaluate my life, that this one important person as a mentor just left me. A spiritual son just left me. On the other side, a new mentor comes in, a new friend comes in. I've had some people leave me that wounded me. I got healed real quick. People came alongside me that I never thought I would have friends this good. I never thought I would have friends this spiritual, with this much discernment, with this much prophetic assignment on their life. I never thought I'd have friends that were as financially in a place, that they were. But when I was wounded, I could have stayed down, but I didn't. What I found out was when a lot of people left, they may not be bad people, but they were for a different season. When I got myself right, hey, listen, we've all been hurt by people, but let me tell you what, news alert, you've hurt people. Yeah, you have. Don't tell me you didn't. I heard you. Just kidding. You've hurt people. I've had young people that come up to me and say, you hurt me so bad when you were my youth pastor. And I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, you couldn't afford to go to summer camp. I personally paid for you to go. You couldn't afford to go to youth conventions. You didn't have a ride home. I would take you home. I did, oh my gosh, I did so much for you. But I didn't bring that up. I said, man, I'm sorry. Sorry. And, I've been hurt by a lot of people. But I had to make sure I was healed because it would destroy my future. I've had people that I've had multiple men of God that I washed their feet. Their old stinky feet. I washed their feet. But when I was bent over washing that feet, I made my back a good target to stab me in the back. Every person I've ever washed their feet has stabbed me in the back. But you can't tell on Joe Joe in the morning because I got such a great attitude. It took me a while, but I used that pain to my advantage and got healed. I remember one time somebody did something to me. It was bad, y'all. It was bad. It was B-A-D, capital letters bad. And somebody that I know came up and said, bro, they did you so wrong. They hurt you. And I looked at them. I said, oh, bro, that ain't nothing compared to what I went through. So it didn't even faze me. And they're like, that would have knocked me out of ministry. I said, oh, boy, stuff like that happens all the time. You hear me? The more pain that you go through, from a pain scale from 1 to 10, if you've already experienced an 8 and a 5 comes along, you can manage that. You'll be okay. And then when you got healed from the pain level of an 8 and the 5 comes along, you will know the power of restoration and being healed. I got a good friend of mine. We're real good friends. We had a falling out over a misunderstanding that somebody we now know came in and caused a wedge between us. The friendship now is stronger than ever. But because before we found out somebody tried to cause a wedge, you know what happened? We both got healed with God, and it made us stronger. Let that pain drive you to what's next. Whatever I'm lacking in my life, I will be that to somebody else. If I remember one time I was really hurt by a guy I thought was a spiritual father, but he was a spiritual manipulator and was using me, and I didn't even know it because I was really young. I was working on my discernment. And then I said, even though they did me wrong, I will be what I wanted him to be to me, to many more. I will let my pain fuel me to be better to other people. That makes sense. I had a guy ask me to come preach at his conference one time. And I knew the guy, but not like super well. And after the service, he said, man, glad you came. I said, yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate you having me. He said, yeah, let me tell you why I had you. I said, why? He said, because in ministry circles, you, and he named 2 more people, are talked bad about. I was honored to be put in the sentence with these 2 guys. They're 2 of my favorite ministers on planet Earth. He said, y'all 3 are taught more about people. And yet, you never can tell it on social media. You're always going for it. I said, man, I don't care what other people say. I used to, but I worked through the pain of it. And because of it, I'm stronger. Had a friend tore a knee up one time. He tore his knee up. He went to the doctor, and the doctor said, boy, when I'm done with your knee, you're going to call this your good knee. And my friend would do that. Like he would always refer to, oh man, my knee hurts. It's my bad knee. They said, oh, the one you had surgery on? He said, oh no, that's my good knee. That doctor hooked me up as my other knee. Where he had extreme pain, he became stronger. When you have pain in your life and you work through the pain with God and a good mentor, you will be stronger on the other side. Welcome the pain. Identify. Okay, listen. Don't push the pain away. Don't push the pain away. Quit pushing the pain away. Bring the pain in close. Examine the root of the pain. Deal with it. That's kind of like your Holy Ghost University. And then use that to make you stronger. Going through college was painful. Going through school was painful. But if someone says, hey, what's 2 plus 2? It's 4. You went through the pain of kindergarten, learning addition, subtraction, oh Lord, multiplication, division, algebra, geometry, all this other stuff. But once you've been through it, you know it. And so your pain level increases. And I told my wife the other day, I went through some really, really rough ridicule on social media. People, they write some, people don't even know me writing crazy stuff about me. And I just laughed it off. I told my wife, I said, it don't bother me, but thank God I don't get the persecution. And I named a minister that really gets persecuted on social media. But he's built himself up by going through it. The pain, like, I had this little young minister come to me recently. He was telling me some stuff he went through, and I was just like, I wasn't being rude because I'm so nice. I started laughing, and I said, young man. I said, that's small stuff. I said, it's big right now. But I didn't say when you get old as me, because I ain't old, y'all. I said, when you get as wise as me, you'll just understand, you'll go through a lot of pain. He said, will you endure a lot of pain in ministry? I said, well, yeah, but you'll endure a lot of pain in life. You lose loved ones. You lose friends. You lose jobs. You have spiritual fathers hurt you. You have spiritual sons hurt you. That's life. That's in the corporate world. That's in the church world. That's in your family. That's just life. But when you learn to get real close with God, you'll understand that the Spirit will overtake the pain and heal you and make you stronger in those areas. We misuse pain all the time. Bible says it rains on the just and the unjust. Things happen. You're going to be okay. Story, a little different. I remember when I first started investing in stocks. If you don't understand stocks, I'll kind of explain it. A bull market is when the market is green and it's going up and your stocks are doing good. A bear market is when they're in the red and they're going down. First time I was in a bear market, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm losing money. The stocks are going down. And a very wise guy said, oh, Joe, listen, when the stocks are going up, you're making money on the stocks you already have. When it drops, you can dollar cost average and buy those same stocks at a cheaper price. their own sale. It's all about perspective. You can also buy good stocks that you've never bought into at a cheaper price because they will go back up. The economy always goes back up. He said, you're just experiencing a new stock investor's first bear market pain. The pain will soon go away and it will be replaced with the celebration, because if you were buying a stock, let's say at $100 and the stock dropped to 80 and you bought it, your average is now 90. So when it goes down, and then he said this, made sense. He said, you never lose money until you sell it. Don't sell it until it's making money. And then you won't have any pain. Wow. Wisdom was given to me in a moment that I was having pain, I thought, in my finances. It was actually a blessing in disguise. That's good stuff right there. Don't mismanage your pain. Don't misuse your pain. If you're going to be afflicted, you might as well learn from it. I remember one time I had to go through this little surgery. They said, oh, you're going to be sitting around for about 3 days. Can't do nothing for 3 days. I said, I'm going to do something for 3 days. They said, no, you can't move around. You can't do much for 3 days. I said, okay. I wrote my exiting paper for college. 85 pages, I wrote it in 3 days. I couldn't move around. I was in some pain, but I was going to use that time wisely. It is all about a mindset. Here's what happens. Most people go through pain and they stop. That's why they're stuck. The enemy knows he can put a little pain on you and you stop. But then other people, when pain comes, it pushes them forward. Those are the people that thrive in life. Those are the people that are successful in life. Those are the people. How many times have you seen somebody sin and backslide and run away from God in the church? Instead of that self-inflicted pain, run to God, to the church, and to the altar. One of my favorite things to see is somebody going to that altar. Wow, that's where the power happens. Use your pain correctly, and God will use that. When you put that pain on the altar, He will use that. He will push you forward in everything you're called to do. Joe Joe in the morning army. I love you guys. Learn to use pain properly and advance.